In 5 days, Americans will vote on a new president. It will be that time in a democracy when the duty of a citizen is to reflect on what the candidates have said, promised, and who they are. Now, that could be a rather unpleasant experience this go around. In the United States, political discourse has devolved into one diss after another, candidates throwing shade on their opponents instead of shedding light on those in the dark.
She's telling us how to fight ISIS. Just go to her website. She tells you how to fight ISIS on her website. I don't think General Douglas MacArthur would like that too much.
The next segment, we're continuing the subject of...
Well, at least I have a plan to fight ISIS.
No, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do.
No, we're not.
See, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do. No wonder you've been fighting. No wonder you've been fighting ISIS your entire adult life.
He didn't pay any federal income tax. So
that makes
if
me
he's
smart.
Paid
so she's got experience, that I agree, but it's bad experience.
You know, he tried to switch from looks to stamina. But this is a man who has called women pigs, slobs, and dogs.
Pigs, slobs, and dogs. All right, let me take you back to a kinder, gentler era of presidential debates. We've compiled figures beginning with the first televised debate back in 1960 between Richard Nixon and JFK, John F. Kennedy. In the fourth and final debate, take a look at these numbers. There were a total of 21 candidate statements delivered, and there was no cross-talking. We'll explain what that is, but basically the candidates did not interrupt each other. It was very civil. Now, fast forward a quarter century later, and the second debate between the Republican incumbent Ronald Reagan and his Democratic challenger Walter Mondale. 53 candidate statements, and again, 0 cases of crosstalk. In 2008, the third debate between the two presidential hopefuls, Barack Obama and John McCain, well into the age of the soundbite, 114 candidate statements right there, but only, look at there, 1 case of crosstalk. And now on to the debates this year. Over the 3 debates, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have made an average of 195 statements, and there have been, on average, more than 7 cases of one candidate interrupting or talking over their opponents. The numbers are disturbing. It's a disturbing trend, and those numbers, by the way, are made possible by the marriage of IBM's Watson supercomputer and the super smart mind of a computer engineer named Dale Musser. Dale joins us now from Columbia, Missouri, where he is the Chief Technology Advisor at the University of Missouri School of Journalism. Dale, good evening to you. It's good to have you on the show. We know that political civility isn't what it used to be, but you've developed a way to marry political words with computer power to prove that what we've been sensing already is true. Tell us a little bit about it.
So we have been working on a student competition here that involves marrying the use of computational intelligence and development of software. And as part of that, I was writing a tool to do tonal analysis, which looks at blocks of text and determines the tones. So we're talking about angry, sad, happy kinds of tones. And once I had written that, I had decided to run some text through it. It was the night of the first presidential debate, ran the text through it and began to see some interesting numbers coming out of that. So in addition to the tones, as you pointed out, we also have the issue of, applause, crosstalk, laughter, which was becoming evident in looking at the current debates and then comparing them to the past debates.
I had said earlier today that this is really almost like big data, trying to read the nuances in our speech and the civility or the lack thereof in the way we communicate. I mean, is that a fair assessment of what you're doing?
Yes, it is a fair assessment. It was actually a sort of unexpected result to see how the numbers, as you mentioned, from today compared to the past. And in addition to those numbers, we were also looking at, the tone and noticing from the very beginning that we saw a lot of anger and sadness which makes me wonder, is that, part of politics now, that everything is angry and sad?
But you mean, okay, so in the beginning, let's say when you were putting the speeches in from the 1960s and the 1970s, was there more anger and sadness detectable then?
I would say, there's always been some level of anger and sadness, but there's definitely a different level, and the nature of the discourse has changed. So, as you pointed out, I'm looking here, there were 21 candidate statements in 1960, and you're talking over 100 average statements now. I think maybe those statements before were more well thought out, and there was more of an opportunity for each individual to make their statements and then let the other person speak. It's now as if the discourse has become more conversational, although that's being nice, I suppose. It's more of a back and forth than it has been before.
Yeah, it's someone in the newsroom was saying it's very pedestrian today, right? It's what you would say if you were at your dinner
that's a great
table.
word.
Yeah, and there's also, though, a lack of respect. I mean, what we saw earlier between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, there's not a lot of respect in the room, and that was not the case back in the 1960s. And ironically, the president of Watergate, Richard Nixon, he is our poster child tonight of respect in political rhetoric. Take a look.
Senator Kennedy has suggested in his speeches that we lack compassion for the poor, for the old, and for others that are unfortunate. Let us understand throughout this campaign that his motives and mine are sincere. I know what it means to be poor. I know what it means to see people who are unemployed. I know Senator Kennedy feels as deeply about these problems as I do. But our disagreement is not about the goals for America, but only about the means to reach those goals.
That is, I mean, watching it today, I can imagine kids watching it who were not even alive in the early 80s. When they see that, they must be amazed to think that candidates, rivals, were actually able to compliment each other in a debate. That we do not have today. Is that something that you are able to pick up and quantify as well?
Well, I think the numbers that you stated quantify that. The blocks of text are much longer, much more well thought out, just reading them. And then as you look at the tone, there's definitely a tonal shift. I found it interesting in doing this. I looked at other people's comments online about debates, and there was a teacher working with a group of students, and the students were being shown these older debates in comparison to the debates today, and they thought of the older debates as boring.
Right.
So it's almost like this form of discourse is now expected, that we need this somehow to drive attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we've heard from a lot of our interns too. If it doesn't fit in a tweet, then it's not fit to be heard. So yeah, that's maybe the sad commentary on everything that's happened tonight. But fascinating work, fascinating research that you're doing. Dale Musser from Columbia, Missouri, the University of Missouri School of Journalism, the Chief Technology Advisor there. Dale, thanks a lot for sharing your work with us and for taking the time to be on the day. We appreciate it.